Okay, so last time we left off, Pinkie Pie had just woken up from a dream. It involved some pony stuff and murder and whatnot. So, and then Pinkie Pie woke up, and then they were looking in each other's eyes, and they're like, "Oh, Rainbow Dash, it was so awful," and you know. Rainbow Dash paused before replying. Suddenly, an idea sparked to her. She knew exactly what she would say. "Oh, Pinkie Pie, I understand how horrible of a dream you had. Pinkie, if there's anything at all that I could do for you, you just say it. Your wish is my command." Oh my god. This dream of yours must have caused you a lot of stress. I would just love to help you take that stress off in any way I could. Oh. This is the beginning of something great. "Anything you want me to do, I'll do it." "You don't mean that." "Yes, I do, Pinkie. Anything." "You promise?" "Yes." "You won't judge me, will you?" "Absolutely not." "Would you show me how it is with another filly?" "What is?" "Never mind." "Pinkie Pie, I said anything, and if that means you want me to have sex with you, then sure!" I don't see why not. I mean, you just get just sex, right? I mean, we're in some stranger's house, and he could be watching us at any time, and I found blood in his bed sheets, and we're out here in the middle of nowhere, but you know what? Sure, why not? "You really mean that?" Rainbow Dash gave her a cute little nod, and asked her to lift her leg up. Pinkie Pie obeyed. She raised her leg, wondering what exactly Rainbow Dash was going to do. Rainbow Dash knew that it was Pinkie's first time. She wanted her to remember every little detail of what they did. She started out by slowly gliding her hand across Pinkie's leg, all the way down to her love. Aww. Fantastic word choice there. Making sure she stimulated every hair on her leg. She then scooted right into her, so their two pussies were touching. She grabbed Pinkie's leg, and Pinkie grabbed hers. Rainbow Dash scooted in as far as she could. Pinkie Pie shuddered in delight. Never did she ever even think that it would feel this good. This was only them touching. When Rainbow Dash started moving her hips side to side, grinding the pink mare's pussy up against her own, that's when the feeling came to her. Pinkie Pie moaned as large amounts of pleasure rushed up through her skin. She started breathing harder and harder. Her eyes were now beginning to dilate, and even though she didn't know it, she was screaming in pleasure on the inside. Pinkie Pie's expression was unforgettable. It was the most innocent, cutest, yet sluttiest expression Rainbow Dash had ever seen. She leaned into Pinkie and gave her a long, passionate kiss. Aww. Rainbow Dash broke the kiss the moment she felt Pinkie wanting to scissor again. Rainbow Dash started moving her hips back and forth, and Pinkie Pie did the same. They grinded each other for what felt like minutes, until Pinkie started getting wetter and wetter. She was nearing an orgasm. Rainbow Dash started feeling her all over, stimulating every hair on her pink, soft body. Rainbow Dash was surprised at how soft her body was. It was probably from the lack of meat, since Pinkie Pie only ate sweets and baked goods. But that couldn't be the only reason. How could such an unhealthy filly feel so soft and sensuous? Rainbow Dash grabbed Pinkie Pie's leg, rubbing harder and harder, matching her bodily rhythms as with those of her partner. Pinkie Pie's eyes started to roll back as she was reaching her peak. Rainbow felt the large amount of lubricant start to pile up on the couch. What were they going to do once Sam woke up? Rainbow Dash felt her own peak getting closer and closer. She knew that Pinkie Pie would beat her by a couple of seconds, but that was no problem. Their pace began to quicken. The Earth and Pegasus pony were now breathing equally as hard, their rhythms perfectly synced. With one final thrust, the two ponies experienced a powerful orgasm that covered the couch in a liquid that smelled of strawberries and rainbows. What? What does the rainbow smell like? I would imagine that it would just smell like rain. I don't know. Pinkie Pie fell right on top of Rainbow Dash. They lay covered in each other's bodily fluids. Rainbow Dash and Pinkie Pie were covered neck down in their lubricants, which when mixed together produced an insane scent that smelled of Skittles, Morning Dew, and many, many types of candy and baked goods. More specifically, cupcakes. They lay in post-orgasmic bliss, smelling the aromatic scent of their bodies. The scent was incredibly powerful. They rolled their eyes back and started to kiss each other lovingly. Oh! They were oblivious to anything that was happening around them. If Sam were to walk in, they wouldn't care. The smell was starting to get to them. They started to lick each other's cream-covered breasts. That's passionately, without a care in the world. Apparently, the smell they produced was so exquisite, they became high off of... What?! God. Silent, your fanfiction makes no sense. They got high off of their... Okay, I'll roll with it. Minutes rolled by, then hours. The scent started to fade away throughout the rest of the house. Rainbow Dash knew that the time was probably around 3 or 4. She didn't get much sleep, nor did her companion, but Rainbow Dash was an athlete. She could take a night of insomnia, assuming they didn't burn out all of her remaining energy in the trip ahead. Part 5. Rainbow Dash slowly opened her eyes, blinded by the amount of light in the room. She tried to get up, but found herself pinned down by Pinkie Pie's body. She shook Pinkie a little to wake her up. Pinkie Pie was waking up slowly. She was still trying to regain her consciousness after last night. Rainbow Dash and Pinkie Pie got off of each other and sat on the couch. Pinkie Pie was half dazed, and Rainbow Dash had a headache. She looked around the room, and she noticed a clock on the wall. It said 11:45. She stood up and walked over to the kitchen to see if Sam had anything to eat. Pinkie Pie tiresomely lay down on the couch and was fast asleep again. Sam was sitting at the kitchen table reading a newspaper. He took a moment to look up at her, and then with a slight smirk on his face. Good morning, Miss Rainbow Dash. You look tired. Oh, shut up. Was that couch too small for you two lovebirds? Do you have any medicine for headaches? Why? Too much action last night. Do you... screamed Rainbow Dash in an angry voice. She stopped herself and apologized, saying that her headache was causing her to lose some of her control. It's fine, Miss Rainbow Dash. Oh, by the way, I forgot to ask you. Are you hungry, or did you get enough out of that filly? Sam! I'm just messing with you. I ain't got nothing against lesbians. What makes you think I'm a lesbian? Why not bi? Because you look like the kind of filly that would prefer a pussy over a cock. It's because I'm a tomboy, isn't it? No, it's not that. It's just you're pretty good looking. Most fillies that are good looking in these dangerous parts are either taken or lesbian. Well, just so you know, I'm bi. That's what they all say. No, I'm actually serious. Why don't you prove it? I mean, I did invite you into my home. You can repay me with this one little thing, said Sam in the most devilish voice Dash had ever heard. I can't believe you're making me pay you back with my body. Call me a monster. Call me anything you like, but you saw this coming. Oh, don't you start denying it. I knew that you knew what I was thinking. You were just counting on me holding back. You're pretty smart for an outlaw. Do you know what I did to get sent here? It's quite a story. I don't even want to know. Sam stood up. He towered over her like a mountain. This made Dash remember her father, who also used to tower over her like Sam was now. What? She tried to push him away, but she barely even moved him. He pushed her right up against the wall. You really don't have much of an option. We can either go upstairs nicely, or I can rape you right now in this kitchen. Don't try to be a smart bitch. It won't work. Rainbow Dash was calculating her options. She couldn't run. He'd stop her dead in her tracks. She couldn't talk her way out of it. What could she do to make him reconsider? Sam, I'm so young and you're so much older than me. How old are you? I'm 16, lied Rainbow Dash. I'm 37. You're twice my age and twice my size. She was right, though. Sam was twice her size. And he was a very well-built stallion that probably hunted often, and performed many physically demanding tasks. She noticed many things about him that she never did before. One of them was the size of his tail, which was very small, but very roughed up. It reminded her of her father. Even though her father had passed away long ago, she still remembered what he looked like. Her father was an inspiration to how she looked. Her hair, her personality was all a distant copy of her father, who she'd kept alive in her own appearance. Sam came closer to her. "You still haven't answered me. Is it a yes or a no?" Rainbow Dash paused and realized that there was no way out of her situation. She placed her front hooves on his chest and gently nodded. Rainbow Dash hadn't noticed how her head stopped pounding. She couldn't understand how or why it did. Was it Sam's conversation? Was it... Rainbow Dash walked into the living room. Sam's hoof was gently placed on her shoulder so she didn't try to run. She looked down at Pinkie Pie, who was sleeping heavily. She wanted to wake her up, but wouldn't be able to with Sam so close to her. They were approaching the stairs. Sam slid his hoof down her back all the way up to her rump. This made Rainbow Dash shudder in delight. Sam got a grin on his face. He had no need to restrain her. They climbed the stairs. Dash was wondering of all the many things a stallion might want to do with her. When Sam gave them a tour of the house, he left one room and one room only out. What? Well, I'm confused by that sentence. His room. Sam approached the door and opened it. Dash looked inside. It was a hunter's bedroom. She was right. He really was a hunter. Dash came in. Sam closed the door behind her, and Dash laid herself down on the bed, spreading her legs. In a way, she wanted this, but at the same time, Sam was still a stranger. Sam closed the only window in the room as he walked over to her and laid down beside her. She turned to him. They were now lying opposite from each other and staring into each other's eyes. Sam had a certain look to his eyes that made him look trustworthy and knowledgeable. It reminded her of Twilight Sparkle. Sam, on the other hand, saw something completely different in her eyes. He saw an innocent little filly with a slutty aspect to her. "So, how do you want to do this?" asked Rainbow Dash nervously. Sam looked at her and smiled. "Well, seeing as how I'm such a large individual, it wouldn't be in every pony's interest if you could get me warmed up for this." Rainbow Dash looked down between Sam's leg and noticed his erection. It wasn't even a full erection, yet it was large enough that it wouldn't enter her tiny little ass. So that was a relief. Sam laid on his back and gestured Rainbow Dash to take action. Rainbow Dash looked down at his almost full erection, and she had to say, it was massive. Not only would getting it inside of her be an achievement, but it would also be incredibly painful. Her brain was saying no, but her body was saying yes. She looked down at his now fully erect cock and slowly neared her mouth towards it. Rainbow Dash's mouth was now inches away from Sam's member. She closed her eyes and pretended it was one of the Wonderbolts. She stuck her tongue out and gently licked the head of his dick. This made Sam smile, for the young mare was surprisingly skilled at what she did. After a couple of minutes, Rainbow Dash got tired of licking and started to gently suck on his head. This made Sam twitch at first, but found comfort in this practice. Rainbow Dash enjoyed this to her surprise, for Sam's dick was getting more and more larger. It was only until he said, "Now go deeper," that she realized how massive his package really was. Rainbow Dash had seen Big Mac's erect cock only once, yet Sam made him look like a little youngling. She felt her lips tight against his cock. She could feel the blood pumping in and out of his veins, and it made her sick, yet aroused. She listened to her sexual partner and went deeper along his shaft, slowly sucking on it back and forth. She was only halfway on it, and it was already starting to touch the back of her throat. She gagged on it, but found herself enjoying such a large dick. Oh my god. Gagging. Sam grabbed Rainbow Dash by her head and forced her all the way down on his large shaft. She made a choking noise, and this worried Sam, so he let her come off of it, and let her breathe a breath of fresh air. Moments after, Rainbow caught her breath, and she was back to sucking off the colt, this time surprisingly deeper. Sam's cock was now sliding down her throat, and even though Sam was more than twice her size, she was able to make it all the way in. 100% of Sam's massive penis was now in Rainbow Dash's mouth. And with that, she let it sit there and started to gently move her head back and forth. Sam was in shock. Not only did the young filly take his entire dick down her throat, but somehow managed to enjoy it. Rainbow Dash pulled back again to catch her breath and then quickly went back to work. Sam was nearing his climax, and Dash felt it the moment she felt the pre-cum form in her mouth. She started blowing faster and faster. She was now pulling out all the way to his head and went down all the way to where his dick connected to his lower torso. Sam was getting ready to come. Rainbow Dash wanted to pull off before he could, but that wasn't the case. Sam grabbed Rainbow Dash by her hair and pulled her. You can't grab with your hooves. You can't do that. They're flat. Flat on the bottom. You got two little, I don't even know if they're considered toes. They're flat. You can't grab with hooves. Sam grabbed Rainbow Dash by her hair and pulled her all the way down onto his cock. He experienced a powerful orgasm that filled her mouth with the sticky sustenance. Rainbow Dash had no option but to drink whatever was in her mouth. She found the taste salty yet sweet. It was difficult to explain. But more importantly, she found the taste somewhat likable. Sam pulled out and let her drink whatever was in her mouth. A few short spurts followed, and she drank that as well. Rainbow Dash cleaned whatever semen was left on Sam, and was now resting her head on his shaft. It made her look cute, while making her look more like a slut than before. This let Rainbow Dash regain her energy, as well as Sam. Sam's large orgasm had filled her pony stomach up with his hot spunk. Oh my god, I haven't heard that in ages. Hot spunk. That should be like an album name or something. Like The Killers, Hot Spunk. In fact, she could say she was rather full from it. Rainbow Dash was an athlete, and she knew that proteins were the real force of energy for movement, which Sam had provided her with. Lots of proteins for the journey back to Ponyville. Rainbow Dash got off the bed and was now approaching the door. Where are you going? We're done. Why in the hay would you possibly think that? We're just getting started. You're not going anywhere till I return the favor. Favor? You forced me into this! Don't act like you didn't enjoy it. Rainbow Dash was about to open the door when Sam pushed her to the other side of the room. God, that's a powerful push all the way across the room. Listen, if I say we're not done, I mean we are not done. He pushed her back into the bed and was now starting to really enjoy himself. This was becoming more and more of a fantasy for him, and she could tell by the way he looked at her that he wanted to feel completely dominant, as if he were raping her. She chose to play along and hoped that by doing so he would let her go faster. Rainbow Dash tried to scramble away, but was pinned down on her back by Sam, who was heavier than she thought. Sam was now applying a great deal of pressure on her arms, which made her feel pain, but also increased the realism of the situation. He slowly slid in closer to Rainbow Dash and was now between her hind legs. His rather large penis was now pressing up against her tiny little vagina. He started prodding up against it, and this sent pleasure through Rainbow Dash that she had never experienced before. Never has Gilda or any of the few stallions she'd been with ever done such a thing. Sam then started to gently rub his cock up and down her pussy, which made her gasp in pleasure. After several minutes of warming up, he released his pressure onto her arms, only to place them on her wings that were now fully erect. Ha! A wing boner. This made Rainbow Dash feel another form of pleasure, for the wings were a very sensitive spot. Applying the pressure that he was, she twitched in delight as she felt completely helpless to the massive stallion that was now preparing to enter her chamber. Rainbow Dash's mind understood everything that was happening, but her body didn't. Once Sam started to press his cock up against her hole, she felt like trying to reject him, and close up. This increased the level of the situation, for once Sam noticed it trying to close on him, he thrust his cock inside her and made Dash scream in pain and ecstasy. Oh! I don't even have a vagina, and that sounds like it would hurt. His shaft only sunk in about halfway, but it was already making Dash feel like she was being ripped apart. Ugh. Sam had the most evil of eyes. He had the look of a Nazi in him. Do they even have Nazis in Pony, in Equestria, in the Lost World? I don't think so. And Rainbow Dash started to wiggle around, trying to get away from him, which only increased his and hers lust. Rainbow Dash felt her body's lube spilling out around his shaft. He let his cock get properly wet before he slowly pulled out and thrust back inside, this time going in deeper. Tears rolled down the side of her face as she was now starting to feel more pain than pleasure. Oh. This was starting to overwhelm Sam, who had stopped at the first sight of it and was now passionately kissing Dash. Dash felt his massive tongue slide into her mouth. I just imagined just this huge, like, oversized horse tongue just going plop. Oh, it's gross. Which played with hers, but made hers look insignificant. After several minutes of this, Rainbow Dash had become properly moist, and Sam noticed it. He slowly pulled out again, and was now looking at her with eyes that made Dash remember once more of her father, which is not really good to be thinking about your father during sex. She remembered the day when she ran away from her family because no one cared about her. Her father was always busy practicing his athletic flying skills, and her mother was always busy with something. When she ran away, she went to the mountains. She was hoping to die up there in the freezing cold. Her young filly mind couldn't handle the lack of attention. She was starting to get cold and could feel her body temperature drop down to dangerous levels. That's when her father flew in and slammed her against the snow. He yelled at her with eyes that were now present in Sam's, except for the fact that her father was crying, and he never shed one tear in his life. That image struck in Rainbow's mind throughout her existence, and now she could see the exact same eyes in Sam. Sam placed his mouth around Rainbow Dash's neck and bit down slightly. This made Rainbow Dash moan in delight, for it was another sensitive spot on her body. She could feel the hot breath from Sam along her neck. This gave her a feeling of insecurity, which aroused her, as well as frightened her. Sam thrust into Dash with all of his strength, and his shaft sunk all the way in. She felt the burst of pain that was overcome with pleasure. This made more tears roll down the side of her face, and Sam knew that she was enjoying it for the most part. Her eyes rolled back as she felt Sam pull out of her and thrust inside. She was overcome with tides of extreme pleasure that made her entire body twist and churn. Rainbow Dash screamed in ecstasy, which increased Sam's thrusts. She and him were nearing an orgasm. Just like she had with Pinkie Pie, their orgasms were syncing almost perfectly. Sam started to thrust harder and harder, his hair becoming more and more roughed up, which made Dash remember even more of her father. She tried her best to remove the idea out of her mind and pretend that both the Wonderbolts were humping her like a mad beast in the same hole. Well, I guess, if you're really into the Wonderbolts, that would do. Sam experienced a powerful orgasm that was quickly followed moments after by Rainbow Dash. His hot, sticky spunk. I still can't get over that. His spunk. His hot, sticky spunk filling her womb and her pussy all the way, till his cum started spilling out of her. His orgasm and her lubricants had covered her entire body in their fluids. The scent of Rainbow Dash's orgasm filled the room, which smelled once again of rainbows. Rainbow Dash laid on her back, twitching as her pussy gradually went back to normal, her legs wide open, and Sam could observe as his cum slowly poured out. Oh, I hate that image. Just that picture of all this semen just dripping. Oh, it's disgusting. Slowly poured out of her and covered his bed. There was so much semen in Rainbow Dash that the probability of becoming pregnant for her was sky high. Sam got off of the bed and was heading in the direction of his desk. He grabbed an old rag with the pencil in his mouth and started writing something on it. Rainbow Dash was tired. Her eyes felt more and more heavy, and before she knew it, she was fast asleep. She deserves a break, thought Sam to himself. Ah, wasn't that nice? It's always weird for me when you put insanely big horses in these situations, because then I imagine it like as if it were two horses and not two My Little Pony characters, and it's just I'm not into that kind of thing. Not saying that I'm into ponies yet. That's not how I would. But anyways, it's pretty good. There's some spelling and grammatical errors, but that's to be expected. It's still a work in progress, so I guess I'll get part 3 to you guys tomorrow. But